As the economic situation in the United States continues to deteriorate as a result of the coronavirus crisis, a new study has come out to basically remind us about how we could have avoided some of the worst economic harm by actually sending the American people money. I know this is going to be a big shock to most of you who have seen this before, but it turns out that researchers at the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia recently wrote a new study that if every employed American had just received or continued receiving the $600 from the CARE Act, along with, of course, the economic impact payment or the stimulus, the $1,200 stimulus, that, a lot of people would have avoided falling into poverty. Again, shocker, right? So now, more specifically getting into the numbers here, it turns out that had we continued doing that, they estimated that about 125,000 households would still be behind on their payments when it comes to rent by December. That is, of course, people who did not get stimulus and who did not qualify for those unemployment benefits. So look, let's be honest. Would they have been absolutely helpful? Yes, the study absolutely shows that. Did we do enough on coronavirus? No, we did not. We should have had at least a $2,000 stimulus per month, stimulus payment per adult per month, for the duration of the crisis, of course, rent and mortgage moratoriums, healthcare, et cetera, right? That said, this is the bare minimum, and our government has failed to provide the bare minimum, which has led to a current 1.3 million households that are currently behind on their rent. 1.3 million households. Compared to if we just had continued those very modest payments of $600 a week in additional unemployment benefits, we would only have 125,000 people who would be behind on the rent right now. Now, there are even more numbers to this. So now, 1.3 million households is about 4.2% of all renter households. So that might not be a lot, but that's going to actually have a large impact, especially when you look at the numbers. So now these people who are unfortunate enough to be behind in their rent payments, who at the moment, in a lot of places, still cannot be evicted. But even though they've racked up all this, this rent, and in fact, it was about a total of $7.2 billion in unpaid back rent that is owed by this 4.2%. How are they ever going to pay that? They're not. If you couldn't afford to pay that rent during the crisis, it is very likely that you're not going to be able to afford it as soon as the crisis is considered over. All right? You are in way too much of a hole. You're screwed. And so that's what's going on. Now, we could have avoided this, but instead, we did not. So now that's about, by the way, per household broken down, that $7.2 billion, that's about $5,400 per household in back rent. And that doesn't even, I think that doesn't even include some of the more expensive places to rent. For example, New York, Manhattan, California, or I should say LA, portions of LA where you have, for a very small apartment, $2,000 to $3,000 a month for rent. So this is really, really bad. And by the way, it's not just bad news for renters. It is bad news for renters. It's terrible. But you also have landlords who can't make their mortgage payments. And so that goes up the chain. And this is not good. Very bad. And so this could have all been avoided, by the way, had Congress acted on COVID relief, which they did not. It's been over 160 days since Congress passed the CARES Act, which provided the $600 payments and that stimulus check, which researchers said was actually quite effective. The researchers writing this paper wrote, policies designed to replace lost income for unemployed workers have been very effective at preventing rental debt for households that receive them. It almost seems like, yeah, no shit, we give people money and they're gonna pay them bills. What do they think? Like Republicans do Republicans think that people, if we gave them money, we're just gonna like buy drugs or hookers? I mean, that's what you would do, Republican congressman. But like the American people are way smarter than you give them credit for. And so, I mean, honestly, what did you think? I don't know, but we do know 100% that they were against, those unemployment benefits. In fact, what was it? I remember Lindsey Graham talking about how we're not going to continue that $600 not rent increase, that $600 unemployment benefit over his dead body. Well, unfortunately, Lindsey Graham's still alive. Sad. And now we have millions of Americans facing eviction as the national moratorium for evictions is going to end at the end of 2020. And so that's going to be very, very bad. But look, here's the thing. So their main argument was, well, if you give them that $600, then they're not going to go back to work. First of all, that's not how unemployment works. If you're called back to work, you don't get unemployment. You refuse a job offer, you don't get unemployment anymore. And by the way, some Republicans will be like, well, I mean, they're just going to say that they're afraid of COVID. Yeah, because COVID is a pandemic, and people who are, immunocompromised have a legitimate fear of getting COVID because it could kill them. I'm just saying, like, okay. But again, you want people to stay home for a while, to not work and not spread the virus. That's the whole point. The whole point was to contain the virus. And it feels like what little lockdown that we did, right, was basically just a waste of time. What we're doing now, for one, it's not working. We actually have more cases now than before we had locked down. So what was the point of locking down? If we're not going to mask up, if we weren't going to do it long enough to make a difference. It's like we did it for a couple of weeks, and sent out the paychecks. And I was like, you know what? We're tired of this. We're not going to do it anymore. We don't really care. Get back to work. Too late now. This is a gigantic mess. And we're not getting out of this mess. And that sucks. And so now let's get to some of the facts about the unemployment, right? Workers facing larger expansions of unemployment benefits have returned to their previous jobs over time at a similar rate than others, according to the economists at Yale University, who found no evidence that the $600 weekly jobless benefits led people working less. In fact, they said, we find no evidence that more generous benefits disincentivize work at either the onset or the expansion as firms look to return to business over time. That was the main talking point that they used, and it was wrong. It's just not true. There's literally no reason not to support that $600 benefit unless you feel, and I said no legitimate reason, right? This is their illegitimate reason. They feel that you're not worthy of getting that money. That's the conservative mindset in a nutshell. They do not think that working Americans deserve aid. They don't think that. That's why everything that they propose provides the vast majority of aid to corporations, to the rich. Because to them, they already have money, so they are more worthy of getting help. And now, if you don't have money, then you're not worthy of help. You're just not. You're not worthy of this money. In fact, you're a bad person. You're an immoral person. It goes back to the Calvinist mindset that a lot of these Republicans have, that if you're poor, you earned being poor because you're a bad person, and therefore we're not going to help you. We're not going to help you. And again, these are good people, hardworking people, who, by the way, couldn't afford a $400 emergency before the pandemic. There's about 40% of America could not afford a $400 emergency because the economy had basically left them behind. wages have not risen fast enough or in proportion to productivity. And so we're more productive than ever before, and yet we're not paid for it. All of that money's got to go somewhere. It went right to the top. And those same people at the top are saying that we don't deserve that $600 benefit. We don't deserve any sort of government help because that is bad socialism. And by the way, you're just going to be lazy and waste the money. You're going to waste the money. Well, what are you doing? You're wasting the money. Our money. And that's the problem. And that's unfortunately who Republicans are. They believe that the vast majority of the American people are lazy and terrible people who don't deserve anything. And I should say that they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. Facts disprove them all the time. And maybe we need to stop voting for Republicans. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.